All right, we are live for the Remodelers show. This is the Friday, August 7th, 2020 edition. I have my brand new friend. See how we went from never talking Bram to
Sure.
we're already friends. It's been 10 minutes.
Well, like I
Um,
said, I feel like I know you already.
fair enough. Fair enough. Bram Weitzman, and he even put in his note. He said, "I got very creative with my business name." So tell the people what your business name is.
It is Bram Weitzman Renovations.
You are the first remodeler I've ever heard of that has named his business after his name. That never happens.
No.
It might happen a lot. But this is also the second Canadian guest on the Remodeler Show this week. On Tuesday, my friend and colleague Brian Kaplan came on, and then we're just sticking with the Ontario group today. So I appreciate you being on. Bram and I have never really talked before, but he was mentioning when we talked kind of 10 minutes before we clicked the live button that he'd been following the podcast. He's been a part of the Remodelers community. And unlike a lot of you, when I asked, he actually reached out when I said, "Hey, would anybody like to just come on the Remodeler Show live and just have a little Q&A and back and forth?" And he sent me a Facebook message, and here we are. And the other thing, this is kind of a new format for the Remodeler Show, where it's kind of a quasi live coaching call, is how I'm kind of viewing it and thinking about it. And Bram did a really nice job of sending me information. You 5P'd. Bram, tell the people what 5P stands for.
Proper preparation prevents poor performance.
Nailed it. Because people, there's nothing I love more than somebody in an email to me saying something they learned that I've said ad nauseum, but it's true, right? What does that phrase mean, Bram? What does that mean in your life or your business?
The more you prepare, the better the performance is going to be. Like less errors, less seat of the pants kind of decisions. Helps things go smoothly.
Yeah, absolutely right. And in the business sense, a project that's ongoing, it keeps it on schedule, it keeps it on budget. Remodeling is hard. There's so many little things that you guys are juggling and needing to figure out. And one little mishap of forgetting to order this or forgetting to communicate that can lead to just a lot of pain, a lot of struggle, a lot of costs. So that 5P is a good phrase. And that's what Bram was able to do by just kind of filling me in on his business. And he was kind enough, as we were going back and forth, to kind of we're going to put the numbers out there. And I think that's going to be helpful for fellow remodelers to hear. One, as you listen to it, maybe you have some comments and some feedback or some advice for Bram on some of the questions we're going to get into, but also just for you to hear. I think sometimes when I'm interviewing a remodeler, or you see different remodelers kind of commenting on the remodelers community, all of you anticipate, oh, that guy must be doing $3.7 million and he's probably making $425,000 of net profit this year. That's not always the case,
No.
right? Everybody's varying different top line revenue. Obviously, top line revenue is only a little part of it. What are we keeping at the end? But it's helpful when we evaluate a business and talk about a business to know kind of where we're at. So let me give a little tale of the tape. Bram, you said we're coming up on 5-year anniversary of starting the business, and you were in the industry for a little over 15 years before that, mostly doing small handyman jobs. 5 years ago, what made you say, you know what, I'm going to really start this business up? What was the catalyst behind that?
Actually, I'd left the industry for a little while. Went back to my original trade, which was auto mechanics. I'm an excellent technician. Don't like doing the common brake jobs and oil changes and that sort of stuff. So I didn't make a lot of money there either.
Gotcha.
So, and my passion is building stuff. So
gotcha. So off we went. Primarily do interior renovations, trying to focus a little bit more on kitchens, bathrooms, whole home remodels, and makeovers. I work on the tools 40 to 50 hours a week, plus sales, etc. on top of that. The plus sales, etc., figure another 15, 20 hours?
Yeah, about that.
Okay.
Kind of as much as I can. We recently switched to a 4-day work week.
Okay.
So we're doing Monday to Thursday, 10 hours a day. It gives me Fridays to do the paperwork, sales, that sort of thing. Last Friday.
Be a featured guest on the Remodeler Show.
Be a featured guest on the Remodeler Show. Last week, I set myself up on Friday. I had 3 appointments during the day to meet with clients and do sales. So.
And you just started doing that?
About 6 weeks ago.
Okay. Is it going well so far?
It's been some long days, but yeah, I think in the end it will really pay off.
Yeah.
We kind of,
Yeah, one thing when you're trying to get off the tool belt, whether permanently or whether even part time, it's important that you do exactly what you just said. If you don't schedule now the 4 10-hour days plus the additional work, that's going to be hard, and you're going to need to continue to prune back that 10 hours for you, maybe not for your team, but for you. But just having Fridays where you can look. It can be Tuesday and you go, okay, Friday I can catch up on this or I can knock that out. Just having that in place and on your schedule is a great step in the right direction. Friday is my in-office day. Now you're going to have to work towards, Friday and Tuesday afternoon are my in-office days. You know what? Monday afternoon, Tuesday afternoon, and Friday, you're going to keep working towards that. But having that Friday, I'm anticipating that it's allowing you at least to, okay, I've got a day in the office. I can work on this. I can get invoicing out. I can do some of this. So kudos for moving in that direction. We have one full-time helper / apprentice who started with us in March, just as COVID hit. And then you wrote in all caps, she has been fantastic addition to our team, which just reminds us that there's a lot of women out there who can be excellent in the field. And sometimes I catch my clients saying that of like, well, we're looking for a lead carpenter. I think he's going to time out. I'm hearing more and more of she, and I'm also hearing more and more of she kicks butt. Yeah. So make sure we're keeping our eyes out for that. And then Krista, your wife, works 10 or 15 hours a week, ordering, acquiring materials, dump runs, cleanups, etc. How's she feel about the business, Bram?
She's excited about it. Obviously, prior years when we're really struggling, a little unsure of things. But I think now seeing some of the changes we've made, she's a little more excited. She obviously with COVID, she was a server. She's lost her job. Her restaurant closed for good. So now she's just trying to focus on helping in the business. She's not liking being on the tools so much. She's not confident in that area. It's not her thing. So we're hoping to develop her into doing sales. So which she'd be fantastic at.
Gotcha. And then you also recently hired a part-time office manager / bookkeeper. What kind of part-time? How many hours? What does that look like?
Right now we're scheduling to keep it in around 10 hours a week. So she's coming in like one day during the week, during the day, and then also Saturdays. So I can be there to kind of help her get organized and give her kind of the tasks to do.
What are you paying her per hour?
22.
Okay. And that's Canadian dollars.
Yeah.
Right. So most everybody, that's a little bit of a change. And then as far as sales go, sales, we're on track for about 225,000 in sales in 2020. 2019, we're at 165. 2018, we're at 150. So even that 165 up to 225, it's not up where you want it to be, but it's a nice solid improvement. Hashtag, we've been going through a global pandemic, if anybody was wondering about that. All right. So that's also factored in for everybody as you're looking at your sales and your QuickBooks and your P&L this year. There's going to need to be a lot of wrestling and reviewing of going, okay, we had Michiganders, they were fully shut down for 6 weeks, and just depending on where you're at in the country or countries, your province may have factored into that. Financials are a mess, but are getting cleaned up, quote unquote, from Bram.
Yes.
Financials are a mess. Let's sit in there for a second. I wasn't charging enough, probably still undercharging in parentheses. I would get too busy to keep up with job costing. So we'll time out there. And this is, if you've followed my content, you've heard me talk about job costing. Bram, am I excited about how well all of the remodelers are doing their job costing, or am I a little frustrated by it?
I would say you're a little frustrated.
I'm a little frustrated by it. More so, just emphasizing that we need to take it more seriously when we're quoting a job, and when we have, hey Kyle, I have a 1.6 markup, or 1.67 markup, a 40% margin. That's good. That's great. Now, what are we actually bringing it in at? Because if we're bringing it in at the equivalent of 1.30, that's a big difference. We quoted 100 hours on that. It took us 130. It just kept eating into our gross profit. But if we're not taking the time, one, to be organized with our financials so that we can see those numbers of job costs. Everything I put into QuickBooks is right there. Everything that an hour on the job site is applied to that job, it's a problem. So making sure, so you said it though, you need to work towards job costing. Bookkeeping was usually 3 to 6 months behind, right? Because you were either trying to do it and you're working your face off, and it's one of those things, yes, it's important, but I haven't been able to get to it. It sounds like you've got somebody in place, an affordable option, a very part-time position, but that's going to allow you to get caught up on that. Are you excited about that part?
For sure.
Yeah.
Like, it's taken a couple of weeks for her working part-time, but I think there's maybe a few more kind of outlying invoices or whatever to enter into the system.
Yeah.
And then we're fully caught up.
Yeah.
So
Something that you need to hear and that others need to hear is, you can think about what you were doing last year. You can kick yourself for not having your books organized, which you should kick yourself a little bit. Here I am trying to run a business. Here I am trying to grow this business, but I'm not even keeping my financials up to date. I don't understand them. I haven't wrestled with my P&L so that I could say, this is what this is. This is what that is. I'm way behind on it. It's just, it's such a mess. And it's good to beat yourself up about that a little bit, to feel the pain of that, to realize the impact of not having that organized. But once you're done beating yourself up for it, what I'm hearing is a man who recognized the problem, who is working to fix it, who has somebody in place who is investing in fixing the problem, and you're on the right path. And I think sometimes you and others forget that it's about progress. It'd be one thing if I was talking to you and I said, now, Bram, you say your financials are a mess. What are you doing about it? I don't know. I got to do something about it, which is also okay. But we got, okay, let's talk about the next step. We don't need to talk about the next step because you've already been executing it. You're working on implementing it. It's still not as organized as maybe you want it to be, but progress. We don't give ourselves enough grace and enough, we don't recognize progress. So I wanted to recognize between this email you sent me and that email that you're making progress on it, even though it still feels clunky, right?
Yeah. Oh, and I guess trying to elaborate on that a bit, feeling clunky. Particularly with the job costing, trying to figure out an efficient way to enter all that information. Because right now we're using QuickBooks Online, time tracking, we're using Busy. So there's a lot of like double entries going on and that sort of stuff. So I'm trying to figure out a better system to streamline that.
Okay, we might circle back to that. Cool. Started last October paying myself and Krista for her time, a salary for the work on the tools, nothing yet for owner's comp or profit. Again, progress. You were not doing that. I got to get my business up and running. We can't afford it yet, but now you're starting to do that, and I know why you're able to start doing that and what we're going to get on next. We have a debt load close to $50,000 from previous debt. And just putting that in writing, having that number out there and saying, look, it is what it is. We didn't want that to be there. And then kind of saying, okay, what's our game plan to start whittling that away? You might be able to put good chunks towards it. You might just be able to do a little bit. But it's important to not like debt, to kind of hate debt, and balance the line between feeling defeated by it and beat up by it, but also with, what? We got here and I don't want to be here, and we together are going to work our way out of it, and putting a plan together and being disciplined to pay that sucker off. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you.
Okay. Here's what I'm super excited about. Roll back the clock to 2018, shortly after you started your business. I said, what's your markup been? And you said prior to 2019, nada. And when we got on the phone, that was the first thing I asked you. I was like, what does that even mean? By the way, we got a fan. Let's see who that is. That's Joanne. Husband-wife team, thumbs up. There's a lot of great husband-wife teams. I'm a part-time marriage counselor as a business coach because there's a lot of.
I can see that.
Yeah, and just so y'all know, I pretty much just side with the wife because I'm not stupid. No, I don't do that. I tell it like it is. That's what I do. But you said nada, and then up until a few months ago, it was at a 30% markup. My target now is a gross profit margin of 40% or a 1.67 markup. So we went from the nada was. I wasn't marking up materials at all. I wasn't marking up my trade partners or subcontractors at all. And you were kind of saying, well, for this project, number of hours, $1,000. So you didn't have an idea with it. Just felt like, okay, $1,000, I should have some profit at the end of that, right?
Well, I think I was just taking my wage for actually doing the work as the profit, or paying myself profit, no wage kind of thing.
So how did you go from that to 30% markup to 1.67 markup? Bram, the first answer is, Kyle, I started consuming your content and you just really rocked my world, and it's 100% you. And then
I was just about to say that, other than I read a bunch of books and then listening to Kyle.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, but Michael, the primary driver behind that was not my content. It was Michael Stone's book.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. Right. Markup and profit. By the way, if you just can't get enough of shows today, my friend Dan Bauman at 1:00 Eastern, he's interviewing Michael Stone today. If you go to thedesignersshow.com, you can listen to Michael. Fun fact.
I have a reminder set for that one.
There you go. Cool. But you started reading that and it started to click for you that the way I'm doing it. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, obviously I was broke. And yeah, just consuming information on how to run the business and price jobs, which I still struggle with. Even knowing that I need to add the markup and stuff is still okay. I think it's going to take 100 hours. It ends up taking me 150, but previously, I wouldn't get that information until 6 months later.
Yeah. Michael, if you're about to say something negative about Michael Stone, I'm going to slap you. So make sure the ... at the end is something lovely about him, which I think is. I think he's had a positive impact for you too. But just warning him. Make sure he says something nice. So that is absolutely huge. And you said even just so going from nada to 30% markup, all of a sudden that $10,000 job, there's more dollars at the end of that. You said, you know what, I've been able to start paying myself a salary. It's not what you want to pay yourself yet, but something. You've been paying Krista for her time. It's something. And there's a direct correlation between charging more for your work and being able to afford things.
Yeah.
Right? Go ahead.
I think the biggest change, like when we switched in October to actually paying myself salary, now I look at my P&L statement and the profit's basically zero. But I have a steady paycheck. Whereas before you'd see the profit, the P&L would show like 30 grand for the year. You're like, oh, okay, that's not bad. But I didn't pay myself anything for that.
Right. Or we have to realize that, now that it's in the salary, it's above that net profit line, whether it's expenses or whether it's in cost of goods sold. We have to remember when we take draws out of the business, it doesn't show up on the P&L. It comes out of that net profit number. You see it on the balance sheet. We got to dig into that. And more recently, you're up to 1.67. Now, true or false, Bram, the difference between you charging 30% markup and 67% markup is you understanding and building in your confidence that, one, doggone it, I'm worth it. I'm doing great work. I'm working hard to give my clients a great experience, and there is value in what I deliver. And then also, in addition to that, I need to be up there at 1.67 if I'm going to pay myself a solid salary, if I'm going to continue to pay Krista and she's going to not go back and get another job once things get normal, but is in the business, if I'm going to have an office manager, if I'm going to continue to draw myself away from the tools, if I'm going to sign up for remodelersautopilot.com so I can stay in touch with my previous clients, you got to charge more, right? But what is helping you, or how are you going from 30% markup to 67% markup? How are you doing that?
Other than putting it in the estimate, I
guess more than that. Yeah, the estimate is just go into your estimate, update it, and click this. But I guess maybe more mentally, emotionally.
Yeah, I think switching to like the design build structure. Doing that, and again, increasing the experience for the customer as opposed to just selling on price. So trying to really sell the value, sell the experience, taking care of people. So that, I mean, yeah, they pay for that. They need to. Yeah.
Because you're delivering that service. So it is so much. Part of it is just, I'm going to start doing it.
Yes.
Well, and then you're wrestling, right? The other side of your head goes, it's too much. Nobody's going to sign up. I'm not going to be able to sell it. And that's going to be a tension. That's going to be wrestling. But as you start getting better at it, as you start doing what you just described, and we'll talk about the design build side a little bit, we're giving them an experience. You're saying, we care about the client experience. We want to do a great job for them. The other thing is you were underpricing tremendously. If you keep charging 30%, I know exactly what this business and what your life is going to look like 4 years from now. You're going to make a living. But you're not going to be able to invest in your business. You're not going to be able to pull yourself out of the field very easily. You're going to play this game that says, I just got to keep my gross revenue up. And then through that sheer revenue, I'll have enough money to do this. That's going to lead to a lot of struggling. It's not that you're going to go out of business, but it's going to lead to struggling. You're getting up into that more professional rate. You're going to work hard to continue to sell it, believe in it, build the value in it, because so much of charging more comes down to confidence, and we need to charge more so that we can run a profitable business that doesn't run us.
Yeah.
Give me an amen, Brother Kyle.
Amen, Brother Kyle.
Okay. Michael said, Stone and I have deep respect for each other. 1.68 was how I ran my company for a long time. The extra % is covering the cost of project execution and overhead and profit. The trick is drilling down and figuring out and protecting your profit and overhead, right? Dude, totally remember how scary it was to raise prices and change models. It is scary, right? And that's why I'm kind of yelling it, I guess. But what I'm hoping that whole little spiel was is just giving you confidence and permission to keep at it and knowing you're on the right path.
Yeah.
Okay, good. The last thing you said on here was, I've been are you having fun? Are we doing okay?
Oh, yeah.
What's your takeaway so far?
I'm still taking it all, to be honest with you. Yeah.
All right. Good. You also signed up for Clear Estimates, which is going to help you on the estimating side. All right, let's get into a couple questions here. So one is, you've recently changed your sales process to be more design build. How's that going?
Really, I mean, we've only been doing it for a few months now. Yep. Because being a solo, kind of basically the one-man show on the tools, and we do somewhat larger projects. So we'll do anything from kitchens to bathrooms to whole house remodels, which is like a 7 or 8 month project. So I don't necessarily have a lot of leads. So I've only kind of done it on the last 3 or 4. Still kind of like shooting.
You've done it on the last 3 and 4, and you've collected a check from them for design and development. That is a big stinking deal, Bram.
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. it's. I mean, I don't know. Like I've filtered out a few people that just aren't a good fit.
Yep.
And I've saved myself a ton of time, and now I'm being paid to do estimates. So
yeah. So one piece of advice: do you have it written out, kind of the step by step? Okay. So that's an action step from this. Okay, I need to just take, and it starts by just getting a sheet of paper out or an open document and saying, okay, step 1, we have kind of a project conversation, get to know each other. Step 2, I will come to your home. And at the end of that, I'm just going to really summarize it. I'll be able to give you a ballpark range of where, based on the project you're describing and my years of experience, on where your project's going to go. Next, we have our design and project development phase. This is when we can Next, we do this. Just have a nice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and get that in writing. It's going to help you tremendously in your confidence. It's a page that you can put on your website. It's what you email them between the initial phone call and the in-person meeting. And it's going to help solidify how you explain, because you're still new at it, how you explain it instead of it just floating around here. And it's going to be so much easier for people to understand and for you to sell. So there's a big takeaway and a big action step, is get that written out. And you had already nodded. You're like, I don't have it done yet. It's on the to-do list. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you said it for the last 2 weeks. It's got to be written out. I'm like, we got to do this. We got to do this.
Yeah. The November course that I'm doing is going to be focused on that, developing this is how we work our process. Look at Michael's encouraging you too. That is huge. Way to go. Like collecting chat. That's huge. That's huge. All right, cool. So you're asking a specific question. You received a lead from your website asking for a quote. Your normal response is to reply, setting up a time for a quick call. We've been discussing having my wife doing the initial call and lead intake and setting up a time for you to call to get into more details. But it seemed awkward to do this with an email lead and possibly overcomplicating the process. Add a little bit more to that, and then I'll share a few thoughts.
So yeah, we're discussing, her replying to again, do the lead intake to get all that kind of basic information.
Yeah.
Like their address, their telephone numbers, sort of like if they can, a little bit of a budget, that sort of stuff.
Yep.
And the reason I kind of wanted to separate it from myself doing it is from the service industry. Before, you always kind of blame somebody else. Oh, my boss needs this information, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then we're like, is it just complicating things? Is it
Okay.
going to annoy the customer?
Yeah. So here's what I like about this situation for you guys. One, you're in the field. So if you guys get a lead, if you guys get a call, it might take a little bit of time for you to respond back. With Krista, I would anticipate that she would be able to be a little bit more quick with responding, a little bit more prompt. Hey, this is Krista with Bram Weitzman Renovations. I had to really think about that because I wanted to say remodeling and then I remember pronouncing it all. Thank you so much for reaching out. And what I wanted to do is just ask you a few questions, like you were getting at. If she says, do you guys have a budget in mind for this project? She can ask that and not have to have an answer back of saying, I don't know, that's why we're calling you, but that's an example of what you were kind of describing. So for her to call back quickly to get the information, as she gets better at it, she's going to be able to start qualifying people out as well. She can point people towards the process a little bit. And then all she has to say is, let me kind of tell you the next step in the process. Bram is our owner and the person that's going to be coming out to visit your job site. And what we like to do is to set up a call where he gets into more detail. It usually lasts 10 or 15 minutes, but he gets into more detail about your project, what you guys are looking to do, and also a little bit more just how our process works. And what I like to do is just schedule a day and a time for us to do that phone call. Does tomorrow at 10 o'clock work? And then when you get on the phone, you've got a little bit of information. Sometimes she's qualified it out. So I think that process is solid. I implement that, believe in it, try it, and let's see how it works. Go ahead.
So on this particular one, he didn't leave a phone number to call back.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we're a little confused. Like, is she going to reply in an email saying, hey, can I call you to get some information? And then me call her later or call them later?
Gotcha. So everything I just said, if you have their phone number, you're pretty comfortable with. This one was a little quirky. Especially in that case where they don't have the phone number, I would jump on that and for her to say, hey, do you have a phone number so I can give you a call?
Okay.
That's all he needs to know. And if he doesn't respond back with that, that's a lead that's probably already a little bit of a yellow flag going, you're not even willing to give us your phone number to talk to you about this. Right. All right, cool. So, and again, you're hearing like, this is how we work. This is our process. The other thing I would encourage you to do and others to do, and I'm starting to hear about it a little bit, is why can you not do that initial phone call via Zoom?
Yeah.
If we were doing this via phone, it wouldn't be nearly as effective. I wouldn't be able to read your body language and see you and talk to you. But you just quickly better get to know somebody when you're looking at them. There's millions and millions of people, and not only Americans, but our friends up north in Canada as well, who are now used to Zoom. It's not a foreign thing. 6 months ago, it's kind of weird. So even that of just saying, Bram likes to set up a Zoom call. It's going to last 10 or 15 minutes. Also consider that. And if you're intrigued by that idea, if you're like, you know what, that makes good sense. That would allow me to see them and really have a good conversation. Try it out. It doesn't mean you have to do it forever and ever, but try it out and see how it works. Same thing with her scheduling the follow-up phone call. Try that out. See how it works. If it's clunky, if she's not able to respond back quickly, then maybe you do that initial call and do it directly. But I like what we just described there and kind of that approach. Another topic from a previous discussion about hiring employees. We're going to go about 5 minutes late today.
Cool.
Another topic from our previous discussion about hiring employees. What comes first, sales volume or capacity? I don't want to hire somebody and not have work, but I don't want to sell more until I have capacity to properly produce the work. In my notes next to that, I just wrote, yep. Yeah. Welcome to the age-old challenge that probably, the guys that first figured out how to do the wheels and figure out how many wheels we have to produce and how many we're going to sell and how much, right? It's been age-old. But tell me a little bit more about your thought process there.
Well, I've had other people before and that we've hired, more of like out of necessity. We got this job. Oh, you're available to do some work. Awesome. Come on board. It never works. So we're trying to hire slow, fire fast kind of. Like,
are you wanting to hire employees or trade partners?
I think a bit of mix of both.
Okay.
So I definitely feel like with what we do, we need some actual like a lead carpenter kind of thing,
Yep.
to do some of the details. Obviously, goal would be to subcontract out drywall and flooring and that sort of stuff.
Okay.
Some of the bigger parts of or components.
Okay.
But yeah, I still think we need a skilled carpenter on site as an employee.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't necessarily.
Yeah. So the way I think about this for your business, this is what I like about having it's, you ask, if you just asked that question, but now that I've gotten to know you, I can be a little bit more specific with it. The things that go through my head, if I'm in your shoes making this decision is, okay, I've got debt out there. What priority do I have of do I need to pay some of that down before I feel comfortable hiring somebody? That's fair.
Yeah.
How much do I want to have saved up before I hire somebody, so that I'm not, just hiring somebody and I'm just scraping by? What that might equate to is, you have to work your face off for the next year and continue to juggle this so that you can clean some of that up. That could be a reality. Number two is leaning more into, maybe your first step in this is more of a subcontractor, is more of a trade partner. Maybe there's a guy that does different projects and you can bring him in just to do it's hard to find a carpenter. It's hard to find a framer, right? It is. It's hard. Did I say impossible? No, right? It's hard though. It's hard for sure. But to me, I feel a little anxiety with you hiring somebody full time right now, because we're just starting to charge what we need to charge. It would be a little risky. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it, or if somebody perfect comes right along, maybe you take a risk. Business is about risk. Life is about risk. Maybe you take a risk and bring them on and trust that you're going to sell and keep them busy. But I also like the idea of trying to find kind of a middle ground there, where you can start to build a little bit more savings, start to build a little bit more stability in the business, continue to work your face off for the next year or so, and then get to the position where you're much more comfortable and it's less risky to hire somebody. Has that resonate with you?
Yeah, for sure. And totally agree with you on that part. Whereas at the other side of it, it's like, okay, well, if I actually found someone and I'm selling at the right prices, that could all happen quicker, as opposed to being stuck in the craftsman cycle that I am right now.
Thank you, Sean Van Dyke.
Yeah.
Yes. So there's risk with each one of those. You're hearing me of trying to get a strong financial business, and you're moving in the right direction. The other thing is, if you hired somebody and you're hiring with the best of intentions, and I'm going to keep them busy, and then something happens and you can't, you might have to let them go. But
it's true,
right?
It's something. It'd be a struggle to let someone go if they were good. I don't want to.
Absolutely, but it's also foolish, like a lot of people did in 2008, 2009, of holding on to people far too long, and that coming at the expense of digging further into debt and further into challenges, right? But that's also something to consider. Like if it happened in worst case and I wasn't able to line up work, like I would have to let him go, and that would stink, or her go. Here I did it, right? Him or her go. Going back to what we talked about earlier. The other thing that comes to mind related to this is just this tenacity and consistency in continuing to look for people. Even if you're not looking to hire somebody in the next month, we should still have job postings out there. We should still be calling our suppliers and say, I'm looking for another drywall option. We need to make sure we don't have just one trade partner under these different. I was talking to one of my clients today who is in a huge pinch because his painter, who gets like 95%, 98% of his work, had somebody get sick, had this person leave, and he is left high and dry, and he has no backup plan. We've Ed Earl on an episode last week was talking about we need to deepen our bench. And that also can include, it's okay to continue to interview and to continue to communicate with people. We need to work that into our week in and week out as well. Yeah. What else? So we hit on some design build and some encouragement there. We talked about the initial phone call, a little bit of thoughts there about, do I hire? Do I not hire? What's one or two other little topics on your mind?
Oh God, I don't know. I guess the estimating program, or like that's doing the actual estimates, is something I've always struggled with. So again, like I just signed up with Clear Estimates a week ago. I've been using Estimate Rocket and a few other things I've tried before, but they didn't have the database. So I think that's where I've kind of shortchanged myself as far as time, like thinking something's going to be 100 hours and you end up spending 150.
Yeah. Which,
Um,
going back to job costing, that you're going to know that, right? And you're going to see that. That's the value of job costing. Is you're going to realize, wow, I quoted 100 hours on that and it took us 142. And that's going to make you a better estimator. So Clear Estimates is a really solid. I've had a lot of my remodeling clients use them and have success with them. So be confident in that program, and realize that any program, whether it's Builder Trend, Co-Construct, this estimating, UDA, any program software, whether it's project development, whether it's estimating, takes more work to get fine-tuned than we realize, right? So to be patient, to be tenacious with getting it up and running, to realize it's going to be, you bid off another big project and getting that dialed in, but you're on the right path with it. It's going to allow you to create more accurate, solid, quicker, once you get it set up, more detailed estimates. So that's you're in the right path there.
I guess question for you, just related to that, like using the database there. For example, like a carpenter's wage is specified at around $65 an hour, whereas like around here, full burden cost for an employee carpenter would be about $40 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Should I be using that $65 an hour, or should I be using the 40?
Because in your notes you said you've been putting in 65 plus doing the markup of 1.67. If you can do that and you can be confident in it, go ahead and do it. You just made yourself very profitable there. I would probably try to knock that range down a little bit. I wouldn't put it at 40 because there's going to be some incidentals and maybe we can make a little bit of extra markup in there. But 40 to 65 seems like a long way. I'd rather, because what's going to happen, you got to get it down closer to where you're at it. Because what's going to happen is you're going to say, when you look at it and you plug in the number of hours on a thing, you're going to say, well, it's going to take us, 20 hours to do this, but I'm just going to put 15 in because I'm increasing, I'm charging more already. So then you're just all of a sudden playing these games. Get accurate. Don't put it at 40, put it maybe 45, 46. I'm sure other people, Michael says, use the 65, brother. So there's that. He also said Clear Estimate is great, but their pricing database is way off in the Minnesota market. There's some other people that are like, man, that's been rock solid. So get accurate with it is my advice. Part of it is also like, yeah, maybe use a 65, and then you're going to realize, crap, I can sell it at that mark. And but yeah, I think it's what I just said of the mental gymnastics we start to play is also really real. If you have it at 65, you're going to start to move it down. And then when you do your job costing, you'll be like, wow, this took 25 hours, but I only bid 15. But I bid 15, but it's a heavy 15 that's got more right? Now all of a sudden we're just playing this game. Let's get accurate with it so that we can have accurate job costing. This was fun.
Oh, super.
It takes a little. There was a little bit for next time. Maybe I got to get into the meats that we got into. But I'm glad we took the time to go through, one, for everybody listening to hear kind of the story of your business, and two, so much of coaching and so much of hopefully the value you got from this is for me to say, Bram, I work with a lot of remodelers. I talk to a lot of remodelers, and for you to hear from my expert opinion and views and eyes, you are on the right path, my friend. It's been a hard, right? And that's helpful. You've spent years and years of going, I started this business, 5 years ago, and I'm not making any money and this and that. You are implementing change and improvement at a rapid rate. Your confidence is going to come right alongside that. The fact that you've collected design retainers and project development agreements is going to propel you so much further, because you're not going to be wasting time on things. You're building value, getting clear estimates going, getting an office manager to catch up on financials. There is a lot of good things going, and you're on the right path. So be patient with it. Continue to be very be micro fast and macro patient. On the day in and day out, work hard. Continue to work hard to get more office time because you need that. But on the macro, be patient. Realize even just over the last 6 months, you have gone in such a better direction. Over the last 12 months, way better direction. And just keep realizing that. Keep studying. Keep participating in stuff like this, and be encouraged. You're on the right path, my friend.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I actually, speaking with Krista last night, kind of come to the realization, as for the carpentry part of it, I'm self-taught. I didn't work for anybody beforehand to learn anything. and I've kind of gotten to the point where I think I'm really, really good at that part.
Good.
Not so much on the business side.
Yeah,
So
now's the time to grow.
Yeah. But now my focus is on growing the business and learning how to do the business part of things. So
Yeah,
I think
you're better than you were 6 months ago, aren't you?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Keep it up. Keep it up. Cool. All right, everybody. That was the Remodeler Show. That wraps up another full week. Whew, I have 5 episodes this week. This was fun. We'll have, if you're interested in being a guest like this, do a little live coaching call. Shoot me a Facebook message. Email me at kyle@remodelyourmarketing.com. And I think we'll try to do these kind of once a week in the mix of everything else. Bram, thanks for reaching out. And
thanks, Kyle. Appreciate it. Thank you.